Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the next installment in our Fire and Emergency Services webinar series. Today's topic is Advanced Mission Success with ArcGIS Training Solutions. We're happy to be joined today by both Stacy Belladin and Paul Holcomb of our Educational Services Department to talk about some of the training solutions that are available to you. But before we begin, just a couple of notes on the purpose of this webinar series. So again, this is to help inform and educate those that focus on the fire and emergency services market on updates from the Esri Public Safety team. This is a regular cadence of webcasts, and we offer these quarterly. Our next webinar will be on March 17th about configuring the briefing book for your chief using the Story Map Journal. The topics in these webinars can vary. They could be a broad overview on a general topic, or they could be in-depth and laser-focused, like perhaps on pre-incident planning or the like. We're certainly open to other ideas from or topic suggestions from the user community, so please submit those to us. And we'll be keeping you up to date, after this, webcast. Also, as a program note, we've got a chat window or a question window here. So as you're listening to the presenters this morning, if you've got a specific question, go ahead and type that in the question window, and we'll try and get back to you and answer as many questions as we can during the webinar. And if there's any unanswered questions, we'll follow up with you after the webinar. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Stacy Belladin to start us off today with how we can use training solutions to advance our mission success.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Jeff. Let me make sure we can see our screen okay. Can you see this okay, Brenda?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so hello all to you. My name is Stacy Belladin, like Jeff said, and I am a public safety educational specialist within the Training Services Division of Educational Services at Esri. It sounds like a mouthful. My role as an educational specialist here is to help build and write curriculum for the public services sector, and that includes law enforcement, fire and rescue, 911 call taking, and emergency management. I do have a background in public safety as well. I spent 15 years as a crime analyst for local law enforcement agencies before coming to Esri. Before we get started in how we focus on the fire and public safety industry in training specifically, I want to give you a brief overview of Esri Training Services and Educational Services and what it is that we do. Overall, Esri Training Services within the Educational Services Division provides learning opportunities for everyone, anyone wanting to learn and grow their knowledge and experience in GIS. Staying current with latest technologies give you an advantage in helping address issues that help shape our communities, whether those are social, economic, business, or environmental variables. Esri helps to provide courses created by our content development team, which is where I sit, guided by proven adult learning principles, things like hands-on and visual learning. So our courses focus on interaction and skills application to ensure that our learners acquire relevant and applicable knowledge that can be taken back to their workplace. Within our content delivery department, we have our Esri instructors, and all of our instructors have achieved certifications in Esri technology, and they also have an international certification that helps cover core instructor facilitation techniques. So you're getting instructors that can help guide you through the learning process through this dual certification process. Also in training services, we have the training sales consultants, and they can help provide you the best path to lifelong learning that is unique to you. You'll talk to, or we'll have Paul Holcomb, who's from our training sales, talk to you about some of the things that they work on within that unit today. And then lastly, we have teams that provide courses to our international customers. We want to make sure that they receive training that breaks down any kind of boundaries or language barriers. And so we strive to make sure that they are provided the same training as anyone else because we are such an international community. And then we also certify our users in our applications through our technical certification program. So here at Esri, we provide, hundreds, a plethora of different training options and formats that allow you to find really what's best for your needs. And I know Paul's going to go into how you go about doing this later on in the webinar. But really, a well-designed, dynamic type of training curriculum, a curriculum which is made up of a larger track of courses, is constantly changing, constantly growing. We respond to different feedback from customers. We assimilate new ideas, and we adapt to learner needs and learning contexts and advances in technology. These decisions on how we come up with curriculums guide and inform are guided and informed by our understanding of how students learn and the curriculum principles and practices that we have specifically for public safety and fire. Here at Esri, the public safety curriculum, training curriculum that is really still in its infancy, only starting in around 2015. Our public safety curriculum vision, we have in our vision, we've envisioned a curriculum that reflects the varied needs of users, fulfilling different roles within the organization. While many of our standard Esri courses can be used by folks in the public safety industry, of course they can, we're slowly replacing some of those courses with some of the standard, from the standard curriculum that is, where the course better serves the learners to focus on their particular market. So to align with goals within the public safety teams throughout Esri, the public safety curriculum strives to meet the objective of providing solid training that aligns with the industry mission. We understand that the mission of the fire industry is to, service the community by minimizing the loss of life and property and the environment through things like prevention, mitigation, and response. Well, we can better provide courses that teach learners within this framework. We can write courses and content that can train users to use the technology, use the ArcGIS platform, to ensure that firefighters come home safely, that we can respond to incidents and maintain situational awareness, and that we can do it with the utmost fiscal responsibility by serving our community in the best way possible. The public safety curriculum can address the emerging and evolving trends to support the various workflows of the public safety sector. In many cases, you may have a course that you take that shows you how to use a certain software or a particular tool in the software, yet the user still may be challenged, that is, to determine how that software or tool can be used to address business challenges within our industry. For instance, you may need to be able to share information with another jurisdiction, or let's say figure out how to get away from paper maps or paper forms, and it needs to be readily available and transparent. So we are striving to provide examples in our courses that focus on real-world challenges for public safety, fire, law enforcement, and so forth, and products that you will use and need in your industry. So a quick story, and this actually just happened about, 2 weeks ago. I was in the office, and I work out of one of our satellite locations, and the local fire department came by to do the annual fire safety inspection. They did their walkthrough as usual, but I noticed instead of using pen and paper like they had in the past, they were using a tablet. So as they completed the inspection, which we had no violations, by the way, thank you very much, the inspector handed me his tablet, and I noticed he was using Collector for ArcGIS to enter his data. I thought it was great. So, and he had me sign off on the inspection right then and there from his tablet, and he emailed me a copy of the report instantly. So I just happened to ask him, I said, how do you like using this? And he said it made his job and others' jobs within the department, for instance, people who may be the ones that have to input this type of data or that such, or map this data, they find it so much easier now. And they can do so much more to ensure the safety within the community because they can get to more places faster, quicker, better. It's a real-world example of how Esri technology is addressing modernizing mitigation techniques, and we can help provide training to help get you to those levels. We hope to provide the public safety sector, including the fire industry, with a platform that is agile, flexible, and easy to use, and from every user of the department, from chiefs to first responders, civilians, and managers. Our training curriculum is similar to that platform because we want to provide flexible training options that are easy to find and include a wide range of learning capabilities for all users. We understand how one day you may need to respond to a dumpster fire or something like that, and then the next you may have a large-scale event, and this event can involve multiple departments, possibility of multiple casualties, lots of different battalion chiefs on hand, so there's a lot of different things. These are two different yet important incidents, and you need to be able to be prepared and tackle either of these at any time. So we strive for our training to align with this philosophy of training a wide audience within the fire industry. To determine training needs for the different industries for our public safety curriculum, well, we take several different avenues to understand the breadth of that need, and that we learn from you. Really, you're the ones that help propel this type of curriculum. If we write courses with our heads down and we don't really talk to the folks that need the training, well, you've been to those trainings before. Training becomes non-applicable, or you don't want to waste your time on taking courses that don't really mean anything to you. So to ensure that we stay up with the understanding of the missions, the trends and pressures of what's going on within the fire industry, we have ongoing discussions with you. I know that members of the Esri Public Safety team facilitate discussions daily through things like customer interaction, trade show attendance, or conferences and requests for information you may have. Here in Training Services, we have customers within the industry attend our beta versions of our classes, and that helps us determine whether or not the specific industry needs are met before we publish a class. And further, we have reached out to public safety in the past to help understand their training needs through things like public safety training needs surveys. The last one we had, which was about 1.5 years ago, overall showed us that there's a strong need still for training content in many different levels for many different users. And so this is where we look to build that curriculum. This type of survey will be administered periodically to help determine changes in needs, and I hope that you can participate in the future. To develop a dynamic curriculum and ensure that it is well adapted to new trends and technologies, it takes time. And as we incorporate this industry-specific curriculum into the overall Esri course catalog, you will be able to find these courses by searching in the Esri Training catalog on the Esri Training site, which we will provide that link to you in a follow-up email. And we'll talk about it a little later as well. And you can search for them by using tags like public safety or fire, and then of course any kind of technology that you're looking for. But please know, just because a specific public safety training course may not be developed or available yet, that doesn't necessarily mean you have no options. We have hundreds of courses available to you to help provide a training, the training that you need. So let's just imagine, if you will, that you're working in a fire department and you've seen the chief's briefing book from a neighboring jurisdiction. So you see this lovely briefing book, which is a story map, and you're familiar with them because you've seen them before, but you're curious now how to go about creating one for your department. I know when I was an analyst, I was definitely inspired by seeing what others were doing in their agencies. So you may want to click around and see what it is that others are doing and use these as examples and take this back and learn how to do these on your own. So for instance, let's say you look at these and you say, what are some of the various techniques that you may need to know to make this briefing book? What components of the platform, the ArcGIS platform, are used for making this book? How do you use Collector for ArcGIS? Or how do you perform a drive time analysis? Our various training options will allow you to find content that can guide you through all these different tools and technologies needed for providing the book. So Esri already has many different courses that fulfill those training needs. So if I wanted to, I could search for drive time and see what comes up. So I'm on the Esri Training website in the training catalog, and notice I put in here drive time, and you have 67 different results, which is a lot that can give you different ways to learn about drive time analysis. Let's say I just wanted to see if there's anything that was fire related, and I get some fire different courses that are here. And one of them happens to be monitoring real-time emergency and finding optimal locations. So you might be able to get some drive time analysis type of techniques out of these different courses. So lots of different things to choose from. So how is it, so many courses in the training curriculum can fulfill your training needs already. So we have a lot of different training available to you at different various levels. But in the future, the public safety training curriculum will strive for providing industry-focused training on things like spatial analysis, situational awareness, field mobility, risk reduction, and sharing and collaboration. So how is it then that you can get started with training? What training is available to you? And how do you come up with a training plan, if you will? Well, we're here to help you figure out that part. Whether you're looking at providing training just for yourself or let's say for your entire organization, we have folks here at Esri, like Paul, that can help guide you through different training options available to you, or what we like to call your lifelong learning. So to talk to you about finding a lifelong learning plan and how you can foster platform adoption across your organization, I would like to hand it over to my colleague, Paul Holcomb. Paul?
Well, thank you very much, Stacy. Appreciate you turning the floor over to me. And real quick, let me go ahead and switch over to my screen here. And I wanted to take this opportunity to just quickly introduce myself. My name is Paul Holcomb. I am the Esri Training Solutions Consultant for the National Government Team based here in the DC Regional Office. In my role, I support most of our federal civilian clients, including our public safety clients, as well as our health and human services, sciences, and civilian teams. And what I'd like to do today, during today's session, is talk to you a little bit about training, workforce development, planning within your agency, and how you can take advantage of the wealth of resources that Stacy just walked you through our training website, and take advantage of that training in a strategic approach by aligning training with your agency's mission and goals as it relates to your geospatial mission and goals. So over the next few slides, I'm going to be talking about providing you with a high-level overview of workforce development planning, what it is, what the process is, and how we work with your agency to support your workforce development needs. I'm also going to be talking about training resources that are available to you. Stacy showed you our website, but what I'm going to do is do a little bit of deeper dive on the various different resources that are available to you as part of the public safety community. And then also I'm going to be talking about how Esri Educational Services supports the public safety community with regards to building the necessary GIS skill sets to meet your mission needs. So what I'd like to do is I wanted to start off my discussion by focusing on the importance of investment in training as it relates to overall project success. One thing, we work with clients on a regular basis, and one common theme that we've noticed is that most agencies and organizations struggle with being able to quantify and measure training and how it impacts an overall project success. In other words, how to quantify the return on investment in training. Now, the graphic that you see up on the screen here is an overview of a study that IDC conducted back in 2011 that focused on the investment in training and how it relates to project success. And during this study, They did a broad swath sampling of data across public and private sector agencies and organizations to determine how training related to an overall project success. And if you take a look at the orange bar at the bottom there, you'll see the percentage of training investment as it relates to the overall project budget for any given project. The blue bar across the top, of course, reflects the correlating project success rate based on that investment in training. And as you can see, for those agencies and organizations that on average invested about 2% of their overall project budget, recognized about a 20% project success rate. So it was pretty low for a low amount of training budget allocated to that project overall. For those agencies on average that spent 4.75% of their overall budget on training, they realized about a 50% success rate. But one interesting thing that came out of that survey was for those agencies that spent just an additional 1.5% or 6.25% of their overall project budget on training realized an average of 80% project success rate. So as I mentioned earlier, this is one thing that agencies struggle with. We understand on paper that training leads to project success, but it was really difficult to help convey that message without empirical data to back up that. And this survey kind of hammers home the importance of training and training your staff as it relates to overall project success. So the next slide here, I wanted to focus on cross-organizational information sharing and collaboration. One thing that we've noticed as we work with our clients is how technology is perceived across and adopted across organizations. For example, when we work with federal, state, and local government agencies, we've noticed that in many cases there are silos that are specific to specific lines of business, and each one of those specific lines of business has data that is relative to their line of business. But now we're finding as agencies begin to share information across those lines of business the need is there to share that information between those lines of business in a mutually beneficial manner. So how this ties into training is the goal of training is to understand the necessary skills to execute on this approach. By understanding those necessary skills across each of these verticals or lines of business, training can help support cross-organizational and information sharing and collaboration. So really the goal of training is to identify the needs, identify areas where cross-agency collaboration can occur to help support that cross-agency mission information sharing approach. And then of course understanding how GIS can be applied to that cross-agency and organizational information sharing and collaboration. So when we talk about training here at Esri, we look at various different levels of training engagement, and Stacy alluded to this a little bit earlier. We work at basically at 3 different levels here at Esri. So let's say, for example, we're working with an agency, and within that agency they have an individual that's maybe new to the role or new to a specific function within your department or within your team. And there's a GIS component to that role. We work with individuals to understand what their role is, how they leverage GIS and the ArcGIS platform in their role, and then come up with targeted training recommendations specific for that individual. The next level of engagement that we work with our customers is at the project and or department level. So using that similar example, Say we're working with an agency and they have a GIS project, and within that project they have multiple roles that are going to be supporting that project. Now each one of those roles has individual and unique GIS needs and skills to support that overall project success. What we do when we're working with projects or departments are understand the roles within that project, understand how GIS can support the success of that project, and then come up with targeted training recommendations in the form of a training plan that will support each one of those roles within that project or department. Now the third level of engagement is where we start looking at training at the enterprise or across the organizational perspective. This is where we start talking about workforce development planning. Workforce development, the first two approaches or levels of engagement are more tactical in approach. You have a need to build skill sets, short-term needs to build skill sets for individuals that are supporting roles within your agency, or an individual GIS project. So the first two levels of engagement are more tactical in approach. When we talk about workforce development planning, we're taking a look at a more strategic approach to how training can support your agency's mission, your strategic goals, and how GIS aligns and supports those GIS, those longer-term strategic goals, and then understand the training and the staff development needs that are going to help support those shorter and longer-term strategic goals and initiatives. In the next few slides, I'm going to be talking about workforce development planning, and it's a process that we use here at Esri. It's a well-vetted and a proven process that we worked with many agencies, the federal, state, local levels, to identify what your training needs are, identify how those training needs align with your agency's mission and geospatial strategy, and then provide targeted training recommendations so that you can maximize your investment in training. So, of course, the goal of workforce development planning, I kind of alluded to this in the previous slide, but it's understanding your business priorities and key initiatives, aligning training with your agency's strategic and long-term mission and vision. The goal of workforce development planning also is to take a look at how you're currently leveraging GIS, the workflows that are leveraging GIS within your agency or organization, understanding the technical architecture and the GIS deployments within your agency, and then through that process of discovery, uncovering additional ways or future plans for GIS within your agency or organization, and how training can help support those goals and objectives. The intended outcomes of workforce development planning are to provide you with a mechanism to communicate to your broader agency opportunities and the importance of GIS within your agency or within your organization, and how GIS can help your agency meet your mission objectives and your short-term goals and initiatives across the entire organization and across the entire enterprise. And then, of course, the other goal is to, as I mentioned on the previous slide, is to identify areas where GIS might not be considering how GIS is being leveraged within your organization, but it uncovers additional opportunities to allow GIS to further support your mission objectives and goals, following your priorities, your strategic goals and geospatial goals and best practices within your agency. So the workforce development process is a three-step process. We call it the AAA process. And it's a cyclical process, and I'm going to at a very high level talk about each one of these steps in the process on this slide, and then we're going to do a little bit deeper dive in the next few slides. The first step of the process is alignment. As I mentioned earlier, we take a look at your agency's strategic goals, take a look at your training needs, those short-term needs that are going to help meet your short-term goals and objectives, your training wants, that would be your longer-term vision or the future applications of GIS, and then determine how training can support those efforts through the analysis phase. The analysis phase focuses on the necessary skill sets, how you're going to build those skill sets within your agency, and what resources can be leveraged, whether it's Esri resources or internal agency resources or external resources to help you meet those training needs and goals. And then the final step of the process, or the third step, I don't want to say final because it is a cyclical process, is the action phase. We go through this process identifying your agency's workforce development needs, put this together in an actionable plan that you can leverage to start building the necessary skill sets within your agency, but also to continue to communicate out the importance of GIS and this technology that you have, this powerful technology that you have in front of you within your agency to support your broader agency mission and objectives. So the first phase, of course, is alignment. And I've talked about this quite a bit, but the first step of the alignment phase, we don't even really focus on GIS. What we do in the first phase of the alignment phase is focus on your mission, goals, and objectives. Oftentimes we'll work with an agency, we'll take a look at their strategic plan, take a look at their 3 to 5 year mission, and understand what the mission and the goals and the objectives are to meet that strategic plan over the next 3 to 5 years. Then when we have an understanding of your agency's strategic vision for the future, we start doing analysis of how applications currently support your strategic mission, and then uncover ways that GIS can support that agency strategic goal and mission. And then, of course, through that process, we also determine roles that will help support those applications of GIS within your longer-term strategic GIS and geospatial plan. And then we move into the analysis phase. We work together with your agency to understand what your goals are for workforce development planning, what your staff needs are, determine what the GIS skill sets are for each of the roles within your agency, and then we start focusing on how training can help support those workforce development goals and objectives. We take a look at training resources. A lot of agencies that I work with have internal training programs, and some have internal geospatial and training programs. What we do with agencies like that is we take a look at the offerings that they have in place to support your overall training and workforce development strategy, determine where there's gaps where we can help support your current training program, and then make recommendations that will complement your current training program. The goal is not to come in and replace your geospatial training program if you have one in place. It's to identify the gaps in your current training program and where Esri can support your workforce development needs through providing targeted training recommendations for the various roles within your organization. And of course, identifying the delivery method is an important part of that analysis phase. As we all know, we have shrinking training budgets. We have, many agencies have staff that are deployed out in the field, or they're scattered around the country. Maybe some staff is not centrally located. We identify delivery methods that are going to work not only to meet your training needs, but also to fit within the constraints of your resources within your agency. So through that process of analysis and discovery, we determine a mixture of instructor-led training, and instructor-led training can be delivered in person, live in a classroom setting, or virtually through a virtual platform. We identify self-paced training resources. Stacy alluded to this a little bit earlier. There's a wealth of information and training resources that are available to you through the new training website. We don't expect you to have to go through the training website to find the training for your staff. The Esri Educational Services team, training consultants and training specialists, work with your agency to identify what your training needs are, to put together those recommendations that are targeted to each one of those roles within your agency. And then, of course, if you're taking a targeted approach to staff development and putting together an actionable plan, that also plays into budget planning, and it helps to maximize your investment on training. As you remember, one of the first slides that I brought up, there's empirical data that shows that the training plays a crucial part in overall project, program, or organization success. Making sure that you have targeted training recommendations to maximize that investment in training is the goal of workforce development planning. So the next couple of slides are going to dive a little bit deeper into the analysis phase and kind of walk you through at a very high level what approach we take typically when we're working with an agency to identify workflows and roles within the agency. So the graph that you see up on this screen here is just a generic graph, but what we would do is work with your agencies to identify workflows, GIS workflows, through that analysis phase. And as you can see here, these are just some generic workflow swim lanes that you can see here. The blue section is geo-enabled. These are your light GIS users. All they really need to do is be able to view a map and maybe do some basic map manipulation and exploration. The green section is where you start getting into more geocentric workflows. These are your geospatial analysts. These are your data editors and quality assurance folks. These are folks that are going to be developing your more intricate mapping products that you're going to be sharing within your agency and organization. The brown swim lane is where you're talking about your back office administration, those workflows that support the underlying infrastructure and architecture that's going to be supporting your end users. So these are your database administrators, these are your system and server administrators. And then of course leadership plays a crucial part in this as well. And when we're doing the analysis phase, we identify all roles within the agency and determine how GIS it can be leveraged by each one of those roles. And the leadership, of course, plays a key part. If you have strong leadership buy-in on the importance of GIS within the enterprise, then they'll understand the importance of the investment that you're making in the platform, the investment that you're making in training your staff to meet your short-term and longer-term geospatial needs, and those ultimately support your broader mission objectives. So the next step of the analysis phase, once we identify those workflows within your agency, is to start taking those roles that we have identified and then determining those skill sets that are going to support each one of those roles. So as you can see here, it's just a basic kind of matrix approach that we take with regards to identifying training skill sets that are necessary for each one of these roles. We've used this with many agencies and it's been very successful, and we tailor it, of course, to your specific workflows within your agency. But the goal of this analyzing training resources as it relates to roles is to, let's say, for example, during the analysis phase, we uncover that there's a project manager role within your agency. Now, a project manager is not going to need to be rolling up their sleeves, creating intricate mapping products. They really just need to understand the basics of GIS, how it impacts the various lines of business within your organization so that they can make intelligent resourcing decisions within their role. So the goal of this matrix approach is to come up with training recommendations that are specific to that role. So we're not muddying the waters for project managers to have them get into building web apps or doing back office data administration. These recommendations are going to be targeted specifically to their role as identified through that analysis phase. And we would build out this training matrix with your agency. Each role that has any GIS component to it, add it to the matrix, determine what their level of skill set is necessary, and then that helps drive the training recommendations further on in the process. So the final step, or the third step of the process, is the action phase. We do this process of discovery with your organization. It's a collaborative effort. We don't produce this document in a vacuum. We work very closely with stakeholders within your organization, especially if you have different lines of business or verticals within your organization or agency. We ask that you identify key liaisons with each one of those lines of business that understands the business. They don't have to necessarily be GIS experts. They have to understand the business and the workflows within your organization. And then also be able to understand the roles that are within each one of those mission areas or lines of business. And then we work with those folks to compile all this information and then put together a formal document, a formal workforce development plan that is agency specific, that you can use to execute your training plan to meet your short-term training needs and then to support your longer-term strategic geospatial goals, or those training ones, as I mentioned earlier. Now, this isn't a static document. The goal of workforce development planning is it's a cycle. As your agency continues to mature and as your agency, maybe your mission changes and shifts, the goal of the document is we work with you and your agency to review the document on a regular basis, every 12 to 18 months, to ensure that the document is in alignment with your capabilities and with your agency mission. Because the last thing we want to do is to work very closely with your agency, create this document, and then in 3-4 years it becomes irrelevant and it no longer aligns with your geospatial strategy. The goal is to continuously work with your agency to revisit, review, and refine this training plan to make sure that it is fully in alignment with your goals. So I'm going to switch gears here and talk about resources that are available to public safety agencies. And we encourage you to ask questions along the way here, and we're going to hopefully have some time at the end of the webinar to answer any additional questions you have. Stacy, of course, gave you a high-level overview of our new training website. In August of last year, we launched our brand new Esri Training site. And the theme and the focus of the new site is your location for lifelong learning. The new website served a couple of purposes. One, it was to create a new interface that was more user-friendly, a more robust website with more robust search capabilities, but also the goal of the new website was to create a one-stop shop. A lot of the resources that are available on the new training site were always available, but they were scattered across multiple different Esri websites and resource locations. The goal of the new website is to create a one-stop shop. So if you do a search, as Stacy did earlier, if you're focusing on fire or fire-specific GIS categories, it'll search not only our traditional instructor-led and self-paced training resources, but it also cast a broader net out to those other resources that are available to you through our ESRI Press site, through our tutorial site, through our video site, and what have you, and bring you back a comprehensive list of recommendations based on your keyword search. I'm going to be talking about some of these kind of more focused options that are available to the Public Safety Agency in the next couple slides. So, of course, Esri supports our public safety customers through various different methods of instructor-led and self-paced resources. Our instructor-led capabilities and our instructor-led resources are an excellent resource to support your overall workforce development planning strategy. Instructor-led, of course, provides interactive hands-on instruction facilitated by an expert Esri instructor, and many times, especially if we're working in domain-specific areas, we'll try our best to put an instructor that is very not only understands the platform, but understands, say for example, if the public safety domain, we'll look to see if we can find an instructor that has public safety experience. So they can not only do they understand the capabilities of the software and can facilitate the exercises and the topics that are taught in the course, but they also understand the needs and the wants of the public safety domain and help kind of build those, tie the topics to specific areas within, focus areas within your domain. The nice thing about instructor-led training also, not only do students get the opportunity to learn from instructors, but they get the opportunity to share and cross-collaborate with peers, especially if we bring training to your agency, it gets an opportunity for folks within your agency to sit down, go through the training together to understand training needs and topics, GIS topics within your agency, and everybody's hearing the same message, and it gives the opportunity for folks to cross-collaborate within your agency. We also offer public classes. The public classes are an excellent opportunity for, let's say, for individuals that are in need of training. They can attend a public class, but they're in a class with peers from other agencies. And the nice thing about that is they get to hear how other agencies are using GIS, and that can kind of spark that creativity, maybe open up avenues that maybe you weren't considering how you were using GIS within your organization currently, kind of plant those seeds of how, build additional awareness of how GIS can be used within your agency. We have many different methods of instructor-led training. We offer public courses on our training website. We have a full schedule of upcoming classes that are available. We offer instructor-led training both live in person in classroom setting, also online through a virtual platform. I've taken several Esri training classes as part of my individual development plan here at Esri, and I've worked in the broader training or community for the better part of the last decade. I can tell you that the instructors that facilitate our instructor-led online courses are top-notch. If you're attending an online course, it doesn't even feel like you're attending an online course. It feels like you're in a live classroom because they have the skills to keep students engaged, to keep the class flowing, and to keep that energy level up. Also, as I mentioned earlier, we can bring training to you through private events and workshops, and that can be delivered at your agency location. It can be delivered online if you have staff scattered across the country, or we can do shorter workshops that focus on specific topics. Self-paced learning. Where do I begin with this? As Stacy mentioned earlier, there's a plethora of resources that are available to you. With the launch of the new site, any agency and any customer that has a current maintenance agreement with Esri, a current contract, has full access to our entire self-paced training catalog at no cost as part of your maintenance agreement. And I'll just let that soak in. There's 500 plus self-paced training resources that are available on the new website that are essentially open to any individual within your respective agencies at no cost, that are right at their fingertips. The nice thing about self-paced e-learning is it provides broad access to the broader organization. So as as you're communicating workforce development, the workforce development plan across your agency, and you're starting to build awareness within your agency with the power of GIS and the power of the ArcGIS platform, you have resources that are available to you to support that broader adoption across your agency in the form of self-paced e-learning. The e-learning focuses on jumpstarts on focused topics, and the goal of the self-paced training is to provide kind of just-in-time training that's available at the individual's schedule, and provides the ability to increase productivity, learn new capabilities through a structured course format. Also, with regards to training, we do offer custom solutions. And custom solutions is kind of a wide, there's a wide umbrella that falls under custom solutions. We have options of, let's say, for example, we're providing COTS training to your agency, a 2-day training class on maybe, let's say, Introduction to ArcGIS. But your goal is to take the topics that you learned during that COTS class and tie it to a specific workflow or maybe a data set to help reinforce the topics that are taught during that class. The goal of coaching is to provide the opportunity for students and the teacher and the instructor to reinforce the topics that are taught during the COTS class to focus specifically on your agency specific need, data, or workflow. Kind of gives it that customized look and feel without the customized price tag. We focus on your agency-specific workflows when we look at customized solutions. Customized solutions could be maybe one COTS course doesn't meet your needs, but maybe a combination of 2 to 3 COTS courses meet your needs. We work with you to come up with an outline that will meet your needs, and then we deliver that to you as what we call a hybrid class. Or we have the ability to build a custom course from the ground up. Let's say as part of your workforce development planning, the discussion, we identify a need to build a GIS-specific course that is specific to your agency that's going to be maybe deployed within your agency's LMS that's going to support a broader, longer-term training initiative. We can work with you to develop custom solutions from the ground up to support those efforts as well. So custom solutions, we have a wide variety that can meet each agency's individual needs. Also wanted to kind of talk about at a very high level the Esri Technical Certification Program. Esri, we're an industry leader in GIS and a recognized leader in GIS, and as part of that we have a fully recognized technical certification program that focuses on various GIS topics, from entry-level desktop all the way up to advanced analytics, database, and server administration. The goal of technical certification is to ensure that if you have, as part of your workforce development plan, you identify the need for individuals in various roles to have a level of technical proficiency to support those roles. The Esri Technical Certification Program is an excellent avenue to explore to make sure that they have the necessary skill sets to perform the job functions within that particular focused area. And obviously a certified workforce staff is a strategic asset. We talked earlier about the importance of training. making sure that you have the right training and targeted training and trained staff leads to overall project success. One other thing I wanted to bring up, and this, I think this is kind of one of our best kept secrets, is the Esri MOOC program. For those of you who are not familiar with the MOOC program, it's the massive open online course program. And Esri partners with various universities around the country. Those universities have GIS programs within their universities, and what they'll do is they'll offer up these free training programs that are anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks in length. And they're an interesting approach. If you've never taken a MOOC, it's a really interesting approach. I've taken a couple myself, and it's a wealth of information that you learn. But as part of us participating in that program, anytime a GIS-focused MOOC becomes available, we make it available through our website. It can focus on, we currently have one that's focusing on imagery. There's location-enabled MOOC that's coming up later this year. So it focuses on a specific topic with regards to geospatial. It's kind of a mix of the students that are going through. It's a 6 to 8 week course. They spend a little bit of time each week in a live instructor-led kind of lecture session, and then there's self-paced exercises and curriculum that they follow through throughout that 6 to 8 week process. And then if they successfully complete the course at the end, they receive a certificate. And so it just helps to, it's an additional resource that's available to you at no cost through the new Esri Training site that can help build training capabilities within your organization. And what we do here with educational services is we work with our clients. If a new MOOC is launched or announced and we feel that it would be of interest to stakeholders within your organization, we'll push that information out to you via email, or we'll pick up the phone and give you a call and say, hey, we've got this MOOC that's coming up on imagery. We know that you have folks within your agency that are interested in learning imagery. This might be something of interest to you. Push that out to you to support that broader training initiative. ESRI Press, I'll just very quickly talk about ESRI Press. ESRI has a publication division that focuses on creating hard copy and soft copy publications, and it focuses on various topics within GIS, from tutorials and workbooks to case studies to atlas and map books, a wealth of information that is available through the Esri Training website. I encourage you to take a look at Esri Press. Just very quickly, I want to talk about training that's on the horizon. For those of you who are following ArcGIS and the news with regards to ArcGIS, 10.5 was recently released. In support of that, the Esri Educational Services Program is making sure that training, the training that we offer aligns with the new platform release. So our training services curriculum development team is reviewing courses to update curriculum to bring it in alignment with 10.5, as well as launching additional courses to support the new platform release. With the release of 10.5, we're going to be supporting curriculum on the various functionality within the new platform. Insights, the kind of operations business intelligence dashboard that's now available through the ArcGIS platform. We're developing curriculum to support that, both instructor-led as well as self-paced resources. Big data analytics and geo-event extension for server. These are just a few of the many different courses that we're going to be creating going into 2017 and further into support the ongoing evolution of the ArcGIS platform. And of course, as we're working with your agency, if you have a migration plan to move to 10.5, we work that into the workforce development plan, or we revisit your workforce development plan to make sure that the recommendations that we make align with your strategic mission and migration strategy. So talked a lot about what we offer. How do we support you? So Esri Educational Services, we have a full team here that supports our entire customer base, especially within the public safety domain. Each one of your agencies has a dedicated educational services training consultant or training specialist. And the goal, and in my role and in the role of training consultants and training specialists here at Esri, is to work with you to understand your training needs, understand how training can support your geospatial strategy, and provide you with the support and the training recommendations you need to make sure that you're making the most of your training investment, and also making sure that we're putting the right resources in front of you to make sure that individuals are receiving the training that they need to support their role within your agency. Additionally, we have the GIS training help desk. Let's say, for example, you're not sure who your agency specific educational services contact is, or if maybe you're going through a course and you're self-paced course and you have some questions. The GIS help desk is staffed with individuals that can answer your questions and put you in contact with your agency specific dedicated Esri educational consultant and specialist. Additionally, each agency has a specific customer service rep that supports your agency as well. So we have a team. We take a team of teams approach here at Esri to support you not only from a platform implementation perspective, but also from an enablement perspective to ensure that you make the most of the investment that you made into the platform that you have. And then, of course, the training website. I can't emphasize this enough. The new Esri Training website is a wealth of information at your fingertips. If you want to get an idea of what training is available to you, maybe start sparking some ideas about how education services can support, start with the website. Maybe do some high-level keyword research, or reach out to your Esri dedicated training consultant, training specialist. We're here to support you. We have the tools and knowledge to support you. We encourage you to leverage the resources that you have available to you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor back over to Jeff.
Great. Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Stacy. Thanks for sharing all that great information with us today. I again want to thank everyone for joining our Fire and Emergency Services webinar. We hope you found this information valuable, and with that, we'll close it out for today. So have a good day, everyone. Thank you for joining.